Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. Jacalyn. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. Jacalyn at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to USA Global TV and to our friends listening on Business Talk Radio. I am Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show today is The Listening Mentor. I am the listening mentor, and I have a team of elevated listeners who join me each week to help bring insights as to how you can be an effective listener. What does this mean? My team has invested their time and their money to learn all about effective patterns of behavior when it comes to listening. This means listening without judgment, listening without over talking, interrupting, or providing a solution for someone when all they wanted you to do was listen. We bring you role plays, we bring you conversations, and we bring you powerful insights and tips to help you be a better listener. With me today is my friend and a super champion of listening. Her name is Caroline Heward. Welcome, Caroline.
Hello, good to be here.
Nice to have you again. I always enjoy our shows together, and just the way that you bring information that's so relevant and important and meaningful in such an easy to understand way. You're very professional and very clear, and I thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I do my best.
You do a fantastic job. So tell everyone who's just joining us for the first time, where are you joining us from, and what is the Harley Street Stress Expert?
I'm joining you from London, England, UK, and the Harley Street Stress Expert is, I've been in Harley Street since 2005, which is the street where all the good doctors are, and all the very professional people in terms of health and being. So that's why Harley Street, and it's actually quite prestigious to work in that street in London. I've been doing my stress management work for 21 years, that's over 2 decades, and I help people bust their stress by identifying root cause, their repeating patterns and behaviours and stress physical symptoms. And I work very quickly with super speedy options for you to alleviate and obliterate your stress.
Thank you very much, Caroline. And would you also share with our audience what is so important about being an effective, elevated listener, and why did you want to go down this path with me?
Being an effective listener is not only for others, it's for yourself, because sometimes there's things that don't feel right or don't look right, but when we check in with ourselves, we actually form a better opinion of what's right and what's wrong. That's for ourselves. And for others, if we're not listening, then we're not communicating. And the other person knows that we're not listening, and they will feel uncomfortable because they don't feel heard. And that will be intrinsically linked to the fact that you don't feel heard, which is why you will overly speak to the other person, so that compensates the dis-ease about you not feeling heard. Oh, the reason that I decided to do it is because I've been doing this stress management work for over 20 years now, and I always feel like the proverbial student. And so I will always look at finding new ways. Lots of things have changed in the last decade, never mind 2 decades. And so I'm always interested to learn, to grow, and to see other perspectives. And I certainly am gaining new perspectives from being with people in America. So it's been really interesting, because the British have one way of communicating and the Americans have another. And there is a love between the Americans and the British. So, and I have that. I've worked with a lot of people in America. So I'm always interested in the way that they do things. And I will always come back for training and mentoring by all sorts of Americans.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you. And for people who are not sure what the training is, it's the power of listening. And you can also join our team by going over to Eventbrite and booking your tickets for the Power of Listening, parts 1, 2, 3, and coming out tomorrow, part 4. So
Whoa.
before yes, I just snuck that one in there. So we do have a topic for today, but I wanted to just broach something that's come up recently. It's come up a number of times, and I just want to get your insights on this. Let's say that we are on a Zoom, or we're in person, or we're on StreamYard, whatever it is, and there are a number of us, and someone has the floor, so to speak. Somebody has the stage. That person is speaking. And I'd like you, we're going to do just an impromptu role play. I'd like you to just start talking about something and keep going. Just ignore me, but I'm going to be doing something and you can tell me how you feel about it. So let's just do this for a couple of minutes. Talk about anything, the weather, the holidays, doesn't matter.
Well, it's a wonderful time, New Year, and it's a time to set intentions. And is there anything I can help you with? Can you hear me? Is everything okay? Oh, am I on mute? Is that what it is? Am I? Oh, right. Hang on a minute.
Perfect. So I was interrupting you, right? I was interrupting you because I had something to say, and I basically was not listening to what you were saying. How did you feel?
Well, that's why I went in with the, can I help you? Are you okay? Am I on mute? Because there's immediately a disconnect. And that certainly happens on Zoom. Oh my gosh, the amount of times, we should coin the phrase, can you hear me? Or you're on mute, unmute yourself. It's become a new catchphrase. So yes, especially on Zoom, there would be a feeling of, can you hear me? Can you see me? Can you hear me? So yes, it will feel uncomfortable. And that's why I stopped saying what I was saying and then changed my tack in saying, is everything all right? Can I help you? Can you hear me? So yeah, it will immediately put you on the defense of you can't hear me or see me.
Thank you for that. And in this case, I could hear you, but I just was interrupting you. And I've seen this so many times that people do this. We get so caught up in what we have to say, what we want to offer, and it has to be that specific minute. If I don't tell you what I want to feel and what I'm saying and thinking right this minute, Caroline, I'm going to explode. Okay. So I'm totally disrespecting you. I'm taking your time away from you, whatever information you are going to put out there, and now making it about me. So I just wanted to bring this to people's attention because I've seen it happen a number of times recently. And my feeling is it's not an effective pattern of behavior. Listen to the other person. When they're finished speaking, take a breath, pause, and then, if appropriate, share what you have to share if it's in alignment with what the other person's talking about. Because again, people will hijack a conversation and has nothing to do with what you were talking about. And then it's about them. And now we're going over here and you're sitting here going, hey, what about me? I had the floor.
Yes, and the other thing that happens certainly on Zoom conference calls is that the chat gets very busy. And so there is like a separate conversation, almost a separate conference that's going on in the chat, which also means that they're not listening. I was, because I do Sanskrit mantra chanting, which is a meditation. Last night I was with Krishna Das, because I do that kind of thing. And he actually said, what's going on with the chat? He says, all these people that are chatting are not chanting. He says, I want you to be chanting. You should be chanting with me, not chatting. And I just thought it was really funny, that he was right. And he's American too. So the Americans are very direct with what they want to tell you. And it was funny because I really got it. And he was saying, this is not okay. We should be chanting, not chatting.
Caroline, I'm so happy that you brought this up. This is a point we have not actually discussed before. And I think I have taken courses where we were directed to put things in the chat throughout the entire process. So it's not like we were going to stop and it was going to be put in the chat and we're going to review it. It was while the whole course is going on. And I thought to myself, well, I can't hear what the person's saying because now I'm reading a question. So I think that's a brilliant point.
It's not so easy. Zoom doesn't lend itself to doing that, and yet it is invited. And so then the presenter has to go into the chat, and then I found people putting on their glasses or just kind of almost halting proceedings because they want to check in what's in the chat. So yeah, it's a little challenging, to say the least. And I don't know what the answer is really, because we are learning and growing with our new ways of doing conferences and seminars and our events. We're learning new ways of being, and we're adjusting to those. And so this chatting in the chat box and the sort of the interruptions, the verbal interruptions on Zoom, are difficult. And I've seen some people actually literally just say, I'm muting everybody, so they mute everybody to stop the chitter chatter in between, which I feel is a good way, because people will automatically jump in and say, oh, I know what. But now the alternative is to chat in the text box, in the chat box. And I really don't have answers, because I feel that sometimes it works if it's managed well, and if there is a space to say, put your comments in the chat box, we'll have a look at it, and then we'll take on board your questions. And there's somebody else looking at the chat box and the presenter isn't. I have seen it done that way and it's worked. But if there's one person, I see it's very difficult.
That's an excellent point as well. I've been in courses where they assign someone to oversee the chat, and then there was a 15-minute break, and then when we came back, that person came forward and said, we have a number of comments and questions, we're going to highlight these.
Yeah. And I've seen it done that way, and it works beautifully. And but if you're on your own, like Krishna Das was on his own, and he does an absolutely ultimately brilliant Q&A. And he's very genuine, he's reading through and he goes, oh, well, that's a bit too personal. I can't really talk about that. We'll do it in the try and chat in another event. He said, this one's good. And, you can see his reading, he's reading, and then he's answering the question, and then he's kind of saying, yes, this is a good question, because, it's the only way you can really do it. It's being real, he's actually, being genuine as to, there is a live Q&A, there's only him and his chanting, and we sing along and you feel amazing because it's a meditation. And then he does a live Q&A. So this is what we call satsang, sort of a Q&A with a, sort of with a guru, really, with somebody that really is like sort of great at what he does and has worked with some amazing people. So he's being genuinely real in how he's managing it. And I feel that that's the thing that when I've seen it done well, they're saying, let me just check the chat box. And people are being comfortable with that. So I feel it is about, sort of, yes, we all want to be professional, but we're managing a new type of communication, because that's what it is. And we're managing our way through, I can't hear you, unmute yourself. Or, sort of, I can't hear what the other person's saying, or there's noise in the background. Somebody's got the washing machine on, and you can hear like the noise in the background. But, we're learning, and we're human, and that is, it's sort of important to remember that we're adopting and adapting and learning and growing. And a lot of extraordinarily professional people, very, very business experts, kind of adopting and being very genuine and authentic in the challenges of, sort of the muting, the not muting, that I can't hear you, there's noise in the background, because it happens.
It definitely does. And I even say on this channel, sometimes people's screens freeze up or they have technology problems and we just keep going. We don't focus on it. So I appreciate that. I want to turn to our topic today about connecting with our breath and just share a little bit about something that happened yesterday. I think it's kind of a funny story, and then it relates to breath. I was doing a photo shoot yesterday, and it was over in a pool area, and it was actually kind of fun. I was out of my comfort zone doing this. And when I happened to look across, not that far away from me, but in this gated pool area, there was a giant iguana. And
your iguana's come back.
You didn't expect me to say that. And
No,
the iguana, it's one of the ones that's on the roof, and it has these big gold things going down the back of its head, and then underneath its mouth it's got this big red thing and a very long tail that has black across it. So you're not going to miss it, if you know what I'm saying. And it must have been maybe 5 feet long. So it came into the pool area, and I was standing there, and it's looking at me, and I'm looking at it, and I'm holding my breath. I noticed I was like holding my breath because I was literally terrified. And I remembered what Pets Like Amina had said is, don't ever show fear when you're around, the wild kingdom, because they sense it. And at that moment, I couldn't even think of what to do, because I was going through this hamster wheel of holding my breath. I'm terrified. What should I do? And I finally said to myself, whatever he's going to do, because I think it was a he, whatever he's going to do, you don't know. You can't control it. You can control yourself. And right now, you're not getting enough blood to your brain. And you're literally getting yourself so worked up because you're not breathing. And so I started taking some deep breaths in and out through my nose. And I calmed myself down and slowly approached where it was that we were going to walk out of. And the iguana left, and we were over by the homeowners association, and the iguana was standing in front of the door to go into the homeowner's office. So I don't know if he's a new resident or he had a complaint or something, but he was actually looking at himself in the glass. He gets his head and looking in the glass. So my point is that that's like a distraction or something outside in our life that we can't control, that shows up out of nowhere, and all of a sudden we change our own behavior. We stop breathing. We stop thinking rationally. So I just wanted to share that. Any thoughts you have about my crazy story?
Yeah, this happens to everybody. Everybody, literally, this is where the phrase sharp intake of breath comes from. Because we literally, if something happens that's difficult, we literally go, oh! And we just stop. We literally just stop. We freeze. And that's the natural fight-flight mechanism of literally pausing, and you just stop. Everything goes on a shutdown, because the body experiences this high level of intense survival mechanism. And so, this is the experience that everybody will have if there is something that they're fearing, something that they're uncomfortable with, or something that they're shocked about. And as I've shared in previous shows about my sort of my fear of previous spiders and daddy long legs, and I would just go and we do just literally hold our breath. And you've done some training, like I've done some training, but a lot of people haven't done some training. And so they don't know, and they literally don't breathe. And then when they start breathing again, they're breathing in a very shallow way, sort of around here, and what it does is it actually moves you into a higher state of anxiety and stress. And so it's not good. And so we have to, sort of the insight for this is that it makes it worse. And so when somebody is hyperventilating because they're breathing in a shallow way, when they do start to breathe, they're hyperventilating, and it's actually causing constriction around the heart. And so the invitation that I want to share tonight is to breathe down into the belly, to breathe all the way down into the belly. And when you breathe all the way down, so you literally, if you push your belly out and then breathe in, and because you've pushed your belly out, the bottom of the belly, then the oxygen reaches the belly, fills it, and so your body will naturally calm. And it takes all thoughts and fear out of the mind, and it feeds the body with oxygen. You're literally starving the body of oxygen when you're not breathing all the way down into the belly. And we're not taught this at school. Singers, actors, and people that are doing some kind of sport will be taught, but our average person isn't taught how to breathe. And if we just learned to breathe down into our belly, literally extend the belly, breathe right the way down. And it doesn't take much, but as long as the belly is extended, the breath will fill the space and you will feel different. And you'll literally take out that level of anxiety and stress, and immediately your body will relax. Within about 3 or 4 breaths, your body will feel relaxed and the mind will calm.
Really good tips. Thank you. I was practicing the breathing myself. I want to take my crazy story a little bit further because I think it really helps in what you're discussing, and also about breathing and next steps. After I left the area and I went home, I went onto my computer and I decided to do some additional research on iguanas. I had already done some research, which was that they can run 11 miles an hour. And this isn't about iguanas, by the way, it's just information. And what I found was that they can swim very well, and they can swim underwater for an hour or longer. They also like to live in trees, specifically palm trees, and they can drop 40 feet down and have no problem. So why did I get this information? Because like anything else, it's something I'm afraid of. So I thought the more I know about this situation, the more I can change my behavior and how I react. So what did I take away from that? He can run faster than me. He can swim longer than me. So if I am swimming in the pool and he jumps in, I'm getting out. I'm not going to throw my arms up and wave and create a big, I'm just going to casually get out of the pool and stay out of his way. So I think when we encounter any type of distraction or something in our life that's not what we expected, breathe, as you said, very deeply through the belly. Look at what the options are on how to deal with the situation. And if you have advanced notice, knowing that you might have these distractions because you've had them before, do some research and figure out, how can you get to know your subject, or how can you get to know your topic, or how can you arm yourself with solutions when you're in the situation, all while you're focused on your breathing.
Absolutely. To be informed is to feel more relaxed. And the animal will smell your fear because they're hypersensitive on smell. And so even if you are afraid, to almost take the position of feeling comfortable. I know that might be a bit dramatic to say, but if they smell your fear, they're going to do something, and they're going to protect themselves because they will immediately sense danger that you will do something to them. And that is a survival mechanism for the iguana or for the spider or for anything that comes into your path. For me, it was a wasp, the little teeny weeny thing we're all afraid of.
There's nothing crazier than watching somebody when a wasp is around, or a bee, how we get to completely lose it. We look insane just waving about, and meanwhile that we're creating a situation that didn't have to be there, right? Because we're just making it worse.
We're not taught that in school. And that's the challenge. Nobody tells us these things. We either learn, somebody tells us, or we still carry on in that fighting zone of, oh my gosh, I'm going to get stung. And you know what? This is really, really interesting. If you think something's going to happen, so if you say, I'm going to get stung, I'm going to get stung, I'm going to get stung, have a guess what? You're going to get stung. So it's much, much better to feel calm in the state of stress. And I know that sounds challenging and almost contradictory, but if you breathe down into the belly, it will calm your state and it will make you feel different and it will help you respond differently, because it is about managing our inner state so that we feel more relaxed and more peaceful inside.
Yes, I definitely agree with what you're saying. And I also like to look at when we get ourselves all worked up and we have very shallow breathing, other things happen in our body. And I'll give you an example. Pulse starts to race.
The stress chemicals start to become more pronounced, and it starts to create the cycle. If you think about prehistoric man and prehistoric woman, they were afraid when there was a saber-toothed tiger coming up, and going to bite them on the bum, or, sort of the saber-toothed tiger was there, big, huge, fangs. And that's how we were made. And so when we're in that state of fear, we're fearing for our survival. And so the body almost goes on immediate alert, and the cortisol levels go up, and you will feel this like sort of high level of stress because the body thinks it's going to be eaten alive or to be attacked or to be killed. And so the body is performing almost as if we're going to be attacked by a saber-toothed tiger. And I know it sounds a bit dramatic, but that's kind of how it's working. And, if somebody's got in a relationship and their mother-in-law is coming to visit them, and there's a lot of stress with the mother-in-law, it creates the same level of cortisol and that same level of stress reaction and response, almost as if they're going to be killed, and so these high levels of stress chemicals come up, and the body goes into a state of survival, like it's moved into a state that it might die. And so everything goes in overdrive. And it could just be that there's a wasp there, or there's a daddy long legs, or there's an iguana, or there's the mother-in-law. It sounds silly, and it's true, that our body responds exactly like primitive man because it doesn't know any different. It is in a fight or flight cycle. And so when we understand that and we have an appreciation that happens, then when we breathe down into the belly, then the mind becomes calm. And these stress responses are coming from the mind, making it bigger, the mind creating all sorts of stories about what's going to happen to them. And so then the body starts to respond, and the emotions come up and the feelings come up, and the behavior then happens. The fright, the survival mechanism kicks in. And so if we change the state of our mind to silence through breath, and breath is so easy when you know how. I mean, it sounds so simple, and yet it's incredibly effective. I remember having a client came to see me, and he'd been really, really stressed. I didn't appreciate that he was working as an investment banker, and he was been working day and night for 7 days and 7 nights on an investment deal. And he arrived very stressed. And I taught him the practice of the breathing, and he said, "This is nonsense. This is really ridiculous. How can this work?" And I said, "Well, trust me, because it does." And within about 5 minutes, he was smiling. And I said, "Is everything okay?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "I can't believe it. My mind feels really clear. I feel much calmer." He said, "How did you do that?" I said, "Well, it works, like I said, because we don't do it. It doesn't, we don't believe that it will work." And he says, "How can something so simple be so effective?" And I said, "Well, you're now a witness to what changed for you. And you got the experience of the breathing down into the belly, and you felt a difference." And he was just, he was a very big, burly man, sitting in my chair. And he was pleased so quickly that he had an effect.
Mm, that's a powerful story. Thank you for sharing that. We are going to get to how you work with your clients. I want to bring up one more topic in this area and just get your thoughts on it. As you know, I've obviously about the iguanas, but I've also shared my favorite workout is something called solid core. And no, I'm not a paid spokesperson, but I'm really obsessed with it. It's probably the hardest workout that I've ever done in my life. I started in 2017. And basically, I'm not going to go through it. You can look it up, solidcore.co. But it's a bench that's similar to Pilates, but the bench is used in different ways. And long story short, it's very, very, very difficult. And you can always take it to another level, to another level. And what happens is your body starts to go to second stage muscle failure, where you literally start shaking. And it's basically a mind game. Because let's say you're working on your legs and you're standing on one foot is on a stable platform and the other is on a carriage that's moving, and you have to move the carriage back and forth, and there's weights on it, doesn't matter, but your body starts breaking down. And so you can choose to give into it, right? You start hyperventilating because you can feel the burn, you can see the shaking. And what I do is I start breathing very deeply in and out through my nose, and I close my eyes, and I just do not succumb. I refuse to succumb, because I know that the physical is temporary and that I'm going to get stronger. But many people don't. They'll just give up and they say, and I'm not worried about what other people are doing. But my thought is the breath, the deep breathing is able to help me clear my mind from the pain, if that makes sense.
It does. Because when you breathe, the mind does clear. Because when you breathe into your body. And so when you're breathing down into your body, there is no oxygen going into the mind in the way that it usually is. Because when you're breathing in a shallow way, all you're feeding is the mind. And so the mind gets accelerated. But when you're breathing in a deeper way into the abdomen, into the belly, then the body gets the oxygen. And so then the mind calms. And babies, when babies are born, their belly goes up and down. And if you're not sure, go and have a look at a very young child or a baby. If you're really going to quiz this, go and check in with a little baby or a very young child. Their belly literally goes in and out. And I remember my mum said to me, because proper, sort of being brought up properly, she would say, "Stick your belly in when you breathe," and it's because we're sort of we're taught to be appropriately, being appropriate, young ladies, young girls, and yet the mother's natural way to breathe, when a baby comes out, the baby breathes with the belly going up and down. That's how we were born. We didn't learn it. We didn't check out a bulleted list. We didn't use a PowerPoint presentation to learn when we were born. We literally simply breathed that way. But what happens is life happens, things happen, and we forget these things, and then we get traumatized, and then we stop breathing in that way. Or somebody tells you that that's not the way to breathe, don't stick your belly out. And so we don't. And then because we don't know, and I wished it was taught in schools. I really do, because this is so damaging to the body. And if we breathe down into the belly, it literally takes out all the stress. But it not only does that, it moves us into the heart. It's actually a heart connector. And so when we breathe down into the belly, we connect to the heart, the mind goes silent, we reconnect to the five senses, and everything becomes extraordinarily sensory and pleasurable.
I like the way you shared that.
It's one of my things that I share with all my clients.
So let's get into that, Carolyn. Let's talk about how you work with your clients. And I noticed here you are giving a very generous offer for a free Zoom stress buster consultation. So I'm going to spotlight you. And if you would share with people who are going through stress, right? Who isn't, and maybe haven't learned all the skills, or learned and forgot, but they really want to feel better. They just want to feel better, and they need to reach out to you. So share with people, what is the process like? What is the experience like in working with you?
Thank you. Usually people call me when they're highly stressed. I have a lot of people that call me when they're highly anxious. And it's usually a thing that's tipped them over the edge. There's something that's happened in their relationship. There's something that's happened in work. There's been a bereavement. They can't sleep. They have physical pain, or they're in a depression. But there's usually something. There's a reason that they've reached out for that free consultation. And what I do is I give them a few minutes to explain, describe what's been going on for them, what's not working. And then I invite them to look at the root cause, look at when was the last time, when was the earliest time that they had experienced these experiences. And through a very, very simple process, and it is very simple, they start to feel calmer. And I always work in alpha level brainwave. So my voice is in alpha level brainwave. And I trained, over 2 decades ago, and that's my voice now. I don't put it on. That is where my voice is. And so it is naturally calming. And so if somebody stays with me on a call for like 15, 20 minutes, they will naturally feel calmer. I actually have friends that I go out for dinner with sometimes, and one of my friends in particular says, I don't know what it is about you, but I really love taking you out for dinner because I always feel so calm when I'm with you. And I don't know what that is. And this is what it is, that I work in alpha level brainwave. And so alpha level brainwave, we're normally in beta. And so I would take the person down into alpha, just literally by being with them and taking them into a slower pace of a tonality, of listening, and then they calm. And when they've finished telling their story, which only give them a short time to do, what happens is that the feelings and emotions start to release, and they feel different and better, and then they get a really good night's sleep. And then when they come to see me, essentially what I do is I look at, because we're not just complaining about one or two things, there's many things. And so when they come to see me, essentially what we do then is look at all the other things that they're complaining about, whether it be physical, mental, emotional, relationship issues, intimacy issues, whatever it is, work issues, not sleeping, not eating, whatever it is that's going on for them. And the person will know, because it's the thing that they're complaining about. They'll absolutely know what's not working for them. I can't second guess it. I'll only know by what they say. The immediacy is fast. The work that I do is really quick, and within half an hour, 20 minutes, half an hour, they will feel relaxed, even in a free call. And then we work, sort of on all the things that are coming up that are causing the stress in a program of sessions. And I can't solve everything. I can't solve the whole of life in one session. And so we have program sessions, usually 3 or 4, to look at different aspects of what comes up that they complain about and what's not working. And we resolve their root causes so that they feel different, better, and they don't keep repeating the patterns. And then I teach them practices as well to help them feel different and better. And one of the practices I teach is how to breathe and how to reconnect back to the body, back to the heart, and back to a sense of feeling more peaceful internally. All my clients leave me with a calm state of mind, and they all have an incredible restful sleep.
You brought up a topic that I think we really need to hone in on. Your voice is so just soothing, peaceful, calming. And we all know people, as soon as we get in their presence, even if it's virtually or on the phone, it's like, you can feel that energy. And it's just like, I can't deal with this right now because you're taking me to another level. But with you, it's always taking it to a place of calm and peace. And I really admire that about you.
Well, it's me. It's part of me. I don't really think about it. This is who I'm being, who I am. And that's probably because I've spent many years doing what I do. And a lot of people comment on my voice. I don't really appreciate until I started to get this feedback, on global television, when I'm doing, sort of the recorded meditations, I'm getting a lot of feedback. This is the way that I am. And so it's great to get that feedback. And I'm sure that I wasn't like that before I started training. In all honesty, I feel that it's become part of me, part of who I'm being. So instead of going into, sort of my overalls and saying, right then, I'm going to do a meditation, it's the same. It's just literally being the same. And I've been told, even if I've done a talk, that it's very calming and they feel really relaxed when they're with me, even out to dinner or, sort of just doing normal things. And when I get excited, I get calmly excited. And then I'm kind of wooing, and it's still it's a vibration, a frequency, a voice. And yeah, we all have a tonality, and I guess that I've been doing this work for so long that it's become me.
It's very welcome. So thank you. I want to ask you a question about breathing and meditation. So as we've talked many times we're not aware of our own breathing, that we're breathing shallowly or we're hyperventilating. And people will say, oh, I never really thought about breathing. But if you ask people about meditation, they'll typically say one way or another, oh, I can't meditate. I'm not interested in meditating. Or people say, oh, I embrace it. It's part of my life. So how can somebody better themselves and find inner peace by meditating and using the power of their breath in the meditation?
This is it's an interesting question. I'm so glad that you've brought it up, because some people say I haven't got time to meditate. But what about if everything was a meditation? And so I shop and I eat in meditation. I shower in meditation. I cook in meditation. I have a phone consultation in meditation. I'm in this interview in meditation. So you're probably saying, well, hang on a minute, that's your life. And what I mean by that is, when you're in meditation, essentially, you're being present. That's what meditation is. It's being present. Instead of being distracted by being in a phone call or in a text message or doing one thing but then doing something else as well, that you're totally present with whatever you are doing. And so when I'm in the shower, I sort of frequently have showers for 20 minutes, maybe longer. And that's because I'm really enjoying the experience of being in the water. And I'm groaning and moaning in the water because I'm having an experience, a sensory experience. And that isn't because there's anybody that I'm showing off to, because I live alone. And when I'm eating a meal, I'm enjoying the textures and the tastes and the flavors. So I always make sure that my food is sort of, I cook from raw, and I always make sure it's seasoned and flavored, because I enjoy food. And I want it to taste pleasant and tasty. And so this is about when you take that moment to be present with whatever you're doing. And yes, the breath makes a difference. And if you're breathing, when you're in that experience, you're actually feeding your body with oxygen. And so the whole thing becomes extraordinarily sensory. And so when you're breathing down into your belly, or you're breathing in a deeper way into your body, you will start to feel more sensory, and you will experience more, and you will feel more, instead of being in the constant chitter chatter of the mind. Because when you're in that constant conversation of the mind, you're not actually experiencing life. You're experiencing life through your mind, through your thinking and analyzing. And that isn't living, that's existing. But when you move down into the body, through oxygenating the body, through the breath, and you become present, literally only being in whatever you are experiencing, it becomes magical. And time flies. It literally does. Time flies when you're having fun, and time goes quickly when you are experiencing your whole life in a sensory experience.
Where can people find your meditations? Is it something that you have?
Well, I've done. Oh, I'm sorry, I've interrupted again. Why? It's because I was ready and conscious of time. I've done a couple of meditations with the Universal Peace Federation, and you'll be able to find those online. I did one last year. Yeah, it is last year now, isn't it? On the 21st of September, which was Global Peace Day. And that can be found on YouTube. If you Google, because somebody asked me for this and I didn't know, so if you Google global, Universal Peace Federation, International Peace Day, I think it was, or International Peace Meditation, it will come up on Google. And then you will find me there. I've done two, one in 2019 and one in 2021. The 2021 is definitely there. I've seen that one. And I'm going to be doing more meditations. There is an intent and an intention to create more meditations this year with the Universal Peace Federation. And I'm also working alongside an amazing shaman who I've been working with now since April of last year. His name's Richard Down, and I'm using his music, his soundtracks, which have been specifically created to work on relaxing the body, the mind, and empowering the person. He does some extraordinarily magical tracks, and I highly recommend his work. And so I've been collaborating with him to do more meditations. So there will be more coming out this year, and I'm certainly working in a closer way with the Universal Peace Federation UK to produce more going forward, which will be zoomed and they'll be recorded and they'll be out there for everyone else to get hold of. And I'll be sharing them on my Facebook wall as well.
And how can people find you on Facebook?
Caroline Heward, stress, gosh, I'm trying to think of how I do it. I think it's stress.express with an X. So that's Caroline Heward, stress.express, and you will find me. Even if you just put Caroline Heward, you will find me, to be honest with you. Just my name, it'll be easy. And the same on LinkedIn, Caroline Heward, you will find me really easily. And my email address, if you want to connect with me, I can send you links and set up your booking for your free Zoom consultation will be on No More Stress, literally the 3 words, No More Stress, at live.co.uk.
Time goes by so fast, doesn't it?
It does. I don't know what it is with you. And that's what everybody says to me. What do you do? Because time just goes so quickly. I've actually got a clock in front of me to make sure that I'm aware of time because it does. And that's beautiful, isn't it? That's a really beautiful place to be. I mean, with the 7th of January, with the first week in the new year, it's very exciting. I always love the New Year time because I set a lot of incredible intentions, and then I go off and things just happen. It's kind of cool. And I want to wish everyone a very, very happy New Year.
Thank you so much for being here and for bringing us into the calm zone for the weekend. What do you have planned for tonight? Anything? Although it's rather, what time is it? 8 o'clock?
Here it's almost 8 p.m. in the evening. Tonight, I'm going to cook something in meditation, and I'm going to eat something really nice and tasty. And I'm actually going to be a little bit of a couch potato. I'm going to watch a little TV. I'm going to do some meditation. And tomorrow, because I'm preparing, I lost my glasses, my reading glasses, on the 27th of December, and I've really struggled to get everything done that I've needed to get done. And so I'm looking forward. I'm going to meditate on getting my new glasses for tomorrow, and then I'm in meditation over the weekend, which I'm really looking forward to.
Well, bless you. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. It was so good to see you, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Bye-bye, everybody, and thank you so much. I absolutely adore being on this show, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. I need to make that booking.
Book away. I love it. All right. Thank you, Caroline. We'll see you again next week.
Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Dr. Jacalyn.
Bye-bye. Well, as I announced to you before, we have a new listening module. It's called The Intuition of the Heart, and it's with Madeline Chan. It is a 90-minute program. So just to give you a quick overview, some of the other announcements, mark your calendars for Monday, January the 10th, from 2 to 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time, or 7 to 9:30 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. It is the USA Global TV launch party. What can you expect? We have 12 co-hosts this year, and each one will have time to share about who they are, what they do, and what the program is that they'll be co-hosting with me. And then we have 4 guests and 2 special secret guests. So we've got a full lineup, and so we're really excited about that. Also on Monday, we are launching drjacalyn.com and also usaglobaltv.com. Both websites have been up and running, but they're being completely redone. And finally, I just want to announce, I'm going to put up a poster. If you would like to be an elevated listener and be able to interact with Caroline and me and with our other team members, how do you do that? You go over to Eventbrite. I'm going to put up the information here. And all you have to do is go to the power of listening. Just put in the power of listening. It's going to come up. And all of our courses are right there. We have promo codes that you can use for savings, but you would take this course, which is 2 parts, 1 and 2. It's a total of 3 hours. What you can expect are interactive role plays, as well as networking, building connections with people, and obviously learning effective patterns of behavior. After the course is over, you'll take a 7-question quiz. And when you get 100%, you will be a graduate of the foundational courses. This will make you an elevated listener and somebody who is now on our team. And as a team member, you are able to be on the Listening Mentor show, as well as the game show that is coming up. More to be heard on that later. So I hope you go over to Eventbrite. You can use promo code LAST CALL. All right, we'll be right back the next hour with our next show, which is presenting Pet Psychic Amina. This is always a great place to be because I learned so much. I seem like I'm obsessed with animals now, but I'm really not. I'm just learning how to coexist with them, which is what she's all about. How can we live in the world together with the wildlife and the climate, take care of ourselves, and just coexist together very nicely? And that's what we'll be talking about today. So thank you to everyone. Thank you, Caroline. Take care. We really appreciate your loyalty, and we'll see you again in an hour.